Micronesian people have a special wealth. They are heirs to a culture and history several thousand years old, a civilization created in harmony with these islands of the Western Pacific. But today that civilization is threatened. More travel, more tourists, more television, and more money challenge Micronesian people and their identity. The valuable culture and history of Micronesia may soon vanish, robbing future generations of the heritage endowed by those who have gone before. Historic and cultural preservation programs are one way Micronesians are guarding their heritage. Progress and development in places like Yap and Chuuk will bring new ideas and new uses for both buildings and land. New businesses in Kosrae and Pohnpei will bring new ways of doing things. Environmental changes in Palau and the Marshalls will change the economy and family structure. Changes are not new to Micronesians. Every generation has seen striking changes, from typhoons that destroy atolls to jet airplanes that arrive daily. Often people felt their world was collapsing around them. Edgar Santos of Pohnpei talks about how such dramatic changes are part of the oral history of places like the ruins of Nan Madol.
Several men, some people with really strong magic, who got together and built what they say corners, or it could be like foundations that represent each of the major municipality at that time. And during the German time, the Sucres corner collapsed, and the organization of the traditional system in Sucres toppled. I believe it was during the time that the missionaries came over to Kosrae that the corner of Kosrae fell down.
Even though people today sometimes believe changes are happening too fast, Micronesian culture is built on a solid base. That base is the strength of the people and their willingness to preserve and pass down important knowledge and traditions. Historic and cultural traditions are a resource that must be guarded so that future generations can draw on them. Setting aside a portion of land or wealth has been a Micronesian idea for a long time.
Each individual in the village, they would maintain a section in his land that would be untouched. He would not farm in it, he would not build anything, house or any kind of construction in it. He would not destroy the jungle. There is the Pohnpeian term that we refer to it as Panwal. Panwal meaning it's a reserve. It's a piece of land in my land that will be put aside for reserve.
Legislation makes it illegal to take or destroy any artifact, archaeological site, or historic location in Micronesia. Teddy John of the Micronesian Endowment for Historic Preservation talks about the importance of conserving this heritage.
What we're trying to do is that to establish and organize the program with other government agencies and as well as private individual or private organizations. I think that would be the best way to go in trying to preserve our valuable historic and cultural resources.
President Gerrit Kel Epison of Palau is the son of a traditional chief. Amidst the changes that have come with Palau's status as a republic, the president argues that strong preservation programs are needed.
The
administration's four-point policy is 1. Facilitate studies aimed at identifying, registering, and preserving cultural and historical assets. 2. Educate the people of the need to protect and appreciate historical assets. 3. Utilize all foreign and local resources to strengthen preservation programs. And 4. Involve community groups, hereditary leaders, and government agencies in an effort to protect historical and cultural artifacts with strict enforcement of preservation regulations. We need no further evidence attesting to the fact that I am in strong support of preservation programs. because not only am I the president here in Palau, but I am also a traditional leader. My father, whose picture is on that wall, also reminds me of the need to preserve what we have.
The Republic of Palau has many important cultural resources, including archaeology, oral history, and cultural traditions. Victoria Kanai, Historic Preservation Officer, describes the work of her office.
We need to identify all the historical and cultural resources within the Republic. Okay, another goal that we have is, we're trying our best to compile and record all the oral history that are, before the knowledgeable elders die with them. Every day there are old people that are dying, and before they die, the oral histories die with the elders. We like to compile as much as possible, We will like to continue to educate the public so that they can appreciate, the being a Palauan and the cultural heritage, which is very precious and unique to every Palauan.
The Palau National Museum works to preserve cultural heritage. Elder women teach young girls traditional dances and chants. Palauans continue to build men's houses or bais today, and even old ones are preserved, along with their history written on the beams.
It's good to take
Walter Metes of the Historic Preservation Office talks with a local chief about the symbols found on the bai.
The breaker, there's a rift between here and the Rock Islands, southeast of the bai, because it's still in existence.
El angaril domisengi. The boro ulanga seko domisengi.
Bitaliang. So one half of the spear and the other half of the spear. It's like separated.
Anduk metiaya. Sel metiba tokoi. Ertil agi lukur tilang. Esolat mesoisip. Esola yang yamu. Wala kangiku. Namung milak kangin namu motor bokla.
Roosters on the wall symbolize time for the Ruaks. In those days, they didn't have like watch or anything, alarm. When the rooster, would make, that's the sign of the dawn coming, And they would get up and start planning, going fishing. Yeah, his real name is Ngilgiklang Beo. That's his real name, but his title, that's why he's in the bai here, is Rabal, number 7, chief of the village. Yeah.
These women at the Senior Citizen Center sing a chant about how life has changed. They sing that when they were young, there were no mirrors or Western clothes. Now that they are older, all these things are here for young people to enjoy.
Without culture, without preservation of culture, our unique heritage, Palau would be just like any small city or any small town in this part of the world. While it is maternal, at the same time it's a society for elders. It's elderly society, where elders are respected, whether men or women.
The The Vice President's words are reflected in the care with which expert historians recount their knowledge. David Orek of the Historic Preservation Office records this oral history. Storyboards are a symbol of Palau's commitment to conserve skills and encourage identity through historic preservation. On the Republic of the Marshall Islands, historic and cultural preservation is an important activity of the Alele Museum. The word alele in Marshallese refers to a woven bag for storing valuables. Archaeologist Derek Spenneman probes land to see if any sites are in areas that are being lost to development. Graveyards in Majuro have been washed away when careless development occurred without historic preservation review. Back at the museum, he organizes information about the islands of the Marshalls according to environmental, archaeological, and historical data. Preservation activities on the Marshalls include a television program featuring historians and cultural activities. The Alele Museum started a radio show in 1981, which has grown into a successful television program. There are over 2,000 photographs from the De Broom House on Likiup Atoll that serve as a resource to show Marshallese what the past was like over 100 years ago. These photographs, along with those taken during the 1940s, show how much the environment and culture of the Marshalls have changed. Local historians such as Lita Edward of the town of Laura remember what life was like when chiefs on Majuro had more power.
Mga baca kaya kure icelok pa, jenlan lagi jer, kue icelok armani. Icelok armani kue icelok armani icelok mga mungin pelle. Ini mga mungin wajar pacik, ikan. Ngarutor ini memang lala pero, lewat mga biru, menjar ka biru. Ngapa ngai orjuan kita biru menjar kemana?
Carol Curtis works at the Alele Museum. She has lived in the Marshalls for many years.
The reason why I would go and get some papaya and eat it, and also eat coconut embryo, the inside of the sprouted coconut, and that life seemed simple and peaceful because they weren't worried, because they always had enough food, because they were eating local food.
With the availability of imported foods, even the tradition of cultivating taro gardens has suffered. Jorlik Tobone began a local project to fix up the taro gardens.
The olden days used to be a very important part of the meal. And I believe with the coming of the rice and flour and some other imported food, because it's so much easier to do, people have been neglecting their taro patches. And this one here is one that I've been involved with a small group of young men that we do taro patches.
The work of historic preservation in the Marshalls conserves traditions, knowledge, and archaeological sites and encourages cultural events. Alfred Capelli, Historic Preservation Compliance Officer, puts it this way.
We can develop around our cultural resources to protect them and at the same time we'll generate some revenues to, tourism and so forth. We do have a video program that tries to capture the culture and the oral tradition on videotape, and we play those on our educational TV station. The children who watch them will come to see the importance of oral tradition. And I think it's one way to counteract the change and use modern technology to the benefit of historic preservation.
Kosrae is one of the federated states of Micronesia. Historic preservation on Kosrae includes documenting the effects of development.
Everybody wants to see the island develop. And our role here is, sure, we want it to be developed, but at the same time, we are preserving what we should preserve. And what we are doing nowadays, we are surveying all developing areas. We then issue a clearance, and we are also doing some educational programs on the materials or informations that we gather through our work. And just recently started on an oral history documentation program.
Important features of Kosrae culture are found in language, especially in stories and chants. Morris Wookuk sings an old chant about the sacred and historic places of the island.
And Rosheka Bla in the Takel Salan Gang Lenawat Kulun Driving Goal Line Chaya one Chiyot and Gap Card Warrior Front.
Sarah Roberts, another local expert on Kosrae, tells a magical story.
I would say the Lilla ruins would be the most tangible, and I, for one, would like to see that preserved. Because perhaps that is the only location or only facility or site that is available on the island that is easily accessible to practically everyone. But the changes in values of our individuals, or the citizens here, I just keep wondering sometimes whether, with all these changes in exposures to outside influences, how much impact will that do to our own culture? We seem to see some changes already, and how to cope with them is what our problems will be.
Okay, some of the developing projects we've been monitoring, or we did several compliance survey on, are the one is an ongoing project, which is the Lela wastewater project, and the Kosrae fishery project, which we are also monitoring this site. The Kosrae circumferential road, we are monitoring this project. And all the federally funded, housing development. People that are using federal grants here, like from the, they have to have a clearance from us before they start, building a house.
Kosrae culture is also found in people's behavior. Women show the Kosrae ethic of sharing as they organize Liberation Day's activities. Everybody participates and everybody receives the same prizes in these exciting events. The attitude of sharing is expressed in church as well. The governor of Pohnpei, Recio Moses, talks about historic preservation.
Notice the other day we have a number of important historic properties around Metelanim, and one of which is Nanmatol. Areas like that we consider to be extremely important, and to the extent that we are able to, we'll do what we can to make sure that those kind of properties remain intact.
The ruins of Nan Modal are a major focus of historic preservation activity.
Where we are right now is the resident of the settlers. This is where his house is. And as you can see, some of the structures built strategically that no common people would step up. Every day, people from all over Pohnpei would come here, and they'd bring in pigs, yams, and breadfruit. Every day is more or less just the same as when the sun comes up and goes down, and except for one particular day that everybody observes, great night, the greatest night, in which the high priest would make sacrifices to an eel. But normally that eel would come up really angry looking, and during that time he'd feed him and talk to him and say, "Forgive me," and so on. I don't know how it goes, but that's... And then the eel would be pacified, and it goes back down.
Emencio Piriam is the historic preservation officer here. He took the job out of a desire to conserve the physical and cultural heritage of Pohnpei.
When I was, 15 years old, outside Colonia, every morning you look out and there are just sails, sailing canoes, heading out to go fishing. And then in the evenings, you'll see them all coming back, They were fantastic. When I came I started the office in May of '87, we started inventory of historical places in all around Pohnpei. Now we have a map of Pohnpei that is plotted with these sites. Nanmatol is a very significant site, not only to Pohnpeians, but it should be to all of Micronesia, or if not throughout the Pacific. We would like to, in the immediate future, see in the next 5 or 10 years, see some kind of rehabilitation project going for Nanmatol.
The cultural diversity of Micronesia is seen in the village of Kapingamarangi. The village was settled by Polynesians after a typhoon struck their island.
Okay.
While our crew was in Pohnpei, the highest-ranking chief, or Nanmarki, died. His family asked us to videotape the wake and the transfer of the political office to the new chief. As an important community event, the funeral included the sharing of giant yams weighing several hundred pounds each. Pigs were cooked for the feast, and the ritual drink sakao was made from roots and then drunk. Over 200 islands make up the state of Chuuk in the Federated States of Micronesia. Chuuk is often visited by tourists because of the many Japanese shipwrecks and other World War II artifacts found there. But Chuuk is also known for the skill of the navigators from the outer islands, such as Puluwat. The Office of Tourism on Chuuk works to revitalize traditions. Camarillo Acapulco organizes a sailing event which brings in traditional sailing canoes. People on the main island haven't seen this sight for 20 years. Acting Historic Preservation Officer of Chuuk, works to keep the heritage alive during this time of change.
Japanese remains are the things that make Chuuk sites such as on Feven, the place where we went, and also they have also some special archaeological sites on Feven and Tol, but not as many as Moen.
At the Witcher waterfalls, he notes the carvings in the rocks, then talks with a local chief about the historic importance of the place. A development project was going to destroy the falls until the local chief called a meeting to stop the plan. The chief tells Kayo how difficult it was to maintain this sacred spot. Xavier High School, run by the Jesuit Order of the Catholic Church, was once a Japanese communications building.
Xavier High School began in 1952.
The director, Father Jim Krogham.
Seminary for the Catholic Vicariate here in the Carolina Marshalls. And then it quickly became just a regular 4-year college prep high school. I've spent my last 2 years here over on Tolowas, where I've been. And my experience there is that things seem to be a little different than, say, here on Moen. The lifestyle is a little different and perhaps a little more traditional with fishing and farming.
Everyday activities like net fishing and preparing breadfruit are also part of the heritage. The knowledge of this and other cultural systems is something that the Lieutenant Governor of Chuuk fears may be lost.
Right now, everything Western is valued, even if we don't know how to use them, resulting in confusion in our society, because we, as you know, we can never be Western people. At the same time, we tend to put aside the real virtues of Chuuk. As Lieutenant Governor, I have in mind to push through what we have in the Constitution, that Chuukese, along with English, are both equally our language of our official language. You have heard of the Itang language. I don't know, but I understand navigation is preserved through Itang. The history of navigation is preserved through Itang. But it'll take another generation, I guess, to have them realize that it got to be preserved.
Yap is another of the federated states of Micronesia. Its traditional lifestyle is well known throughout the Pacific, as is the giant stone money used as currency in Yapi's events.
Obviously, as you have seen, are Western thread. However, traditionally, they use traditional type of strings. You put one feet here and try to chase the fish, and then go like this. And you have a basket wrap around your neck, the string. Then you move the basket this way. Then you let the fish fall inside the basket without actually touching the fish itself. You know, even in the old days, people do make their living by doing intricate tying. Because they also claim that they have magic. So somewhere along the line, the guy, the tyer, would say, well, we have to stop. I have to perform one of my magic. Then they have to stop, which means they have to provide the guys with more things.
The Yapese people are quite well known for being very traditional and very conservative people. We also are very interested in preserving our traditions and our customs. We'd like to preserve some of the real traditional dances. These dances have very, very old chants, and the chants tell stories. We're also quite famous for our traditional money. In the case of canoes, you don't see very many of these around. They're being replaced very quickly by speedboats and other kinds of water crafts. And, of course, another area will be to produce literature, people to do research and get as much information into some books. So even if we lose a lot of it later on, you can go back and take a look, and then you can learn something about the past and history. That too is very, very important.
Francis Tietzing is 65 years old. His traditional way of life contributes to his health and well-being.
Ay pulingan, ay not bisa, enam look na raw. No, so ni yimo.
Dahil miminan
kumulay to kapille. Ya, yo warmo. Ya kan, ira kinda skile, na skile mo. Ya, itu bongi ora kaus. Kan payu.
The blend of traditional stick dances with an elementary school graduation in Gagil shows how cultural events can be adapted to new situations.
The intangible part of our culture is being lost every day. As you have seen yesterday, we went to a graduation, and a good percentage of the people are wearing clothes. And that leaves only a small percentage, which happens to be the dancers, that are wearing traditional attire. You know, what is being valued there? The traditional clothes or the Western clothes? And it was shown yesterday in the films, in the film that we took. We have to start somewhere.
And I feel that starting small with a basic and a concrete and a dedicated group, and it would branch out and try to address the historic preservation need within the stage of Yap. And I feel that that two should go hands in hands. You must look back on how you got here yesterday in order to take you to tomorrow. And oftentimes people think of how to get there tomorrow and not thinking of how they got here to today.
Tourism, travel, and new industries change the use of land and bring new people to Micronesia. This textile factory brings workers from the country of Sri Lanka to the state of Yap. Changes such as these are creating a new Micronesia. Historic and cultural preservation programs are safeguarding the knowledge, the sacred places, and the heritage of the Micronesian people.